So I just want to, for those that have been in all the sessions so far with me, we started out yesterday and we specifically told about, how to really create that IAC difference. And then you heard those meeting planners today say, we don't even know what IAC is, like every single one of them out there. And that just threw gasoline on my, fire. That's what I say. If we're not out promoting it, if it's not in our business cards, if it's not, something that we're always talking about and looking at, then we're really doing ourselves, the company that we work for, the property, and the client a disservice. So then we talked earlier this morning, if you were in the session, about those service standards and how if meetings are going to be our purpose, we have to make sure that everything we do at the property level is around the meeting. So now we boil this down to the sales professional, actually, what that's going to look like as far as the site visit, but just conference planning is involved in it as well. Because the more we bring people together, I think we brought it up in the morning session, if it's a very technically driven conference that you're booking, getting AV involved, IT involved, if the financial stuff seems to be a big deal, then we want maybe the controller, so we're talking about some of these things. Obviously, with food and beverage, the chef, many times even the GM, it's important that we have them involved. So when you look at the site visit, these are some of the things that we've got to focus on today. One is every single customer that is coming to your hotel, and even repeat, because we get too lazy and complacent with repeat customers, and we're not showing them new things, we're not inspiring them because it's like, well, you know that, so we don't think of them as a new customer. So one of the things that I always say, and I use this as an example, if any of you get your hair colored, okay, and if you go to the same stylist, I know for sure,
yeah.
I'm talking to you. You go to the same stylist, okay? That's right. And you walk in, and you've been going to the same stylist for a long time, and they already have your color mixed, and they're ready to slap it on your head, get a new stylist. Because that means they've taken you for granted, they're not sharing new ideas, they're not looking at you, what's going on in your life right now, what could be like fun, how do you want to mix it up. It's just easy. They whip it together, go in, and that's how some repeat customers feel. So remember, if you know the customer really well, they still might be looking, because their executive committee, their board, might be suggesting to look at another hotel or another property in addition to you. And so the other property is going to jump through the hoops to try to win that business. So every single site visit has to make a difference. And you can't act like, I'm not going to show everything as you've seen it. You want to always have some inspiration about things. So even if there's new art, or there's you have somebody new at the hotel that they haven't met, introducing them to that person. That's where you show we care, because I talk to customers all the time that say sometimes the site visit ruins the experience so bad that they decide not to go there. And this has happened more times than not. If you have new salespeople that have taken over an account, and let's say the other person left, this happens, right? And let's say you don't know everything there is to know about that customer, and it's going to be awkward kind of asking, because maybe it's not all in Delphi. You have to be authentic and get on the phone before the site visit with the customer and say, I'm thrilled that I'm going to now be handling your account and working with you. I know you worked with Cindy for the last several years, and as you know, she is now left. This happens, so we don't have to pretend. And, then we don't have to throw her totally under the bus and say she didn't document anything in Delphi, so we don't know anything about you, right? So I always say, in order for us to start fresh, I would like, before you get here, just to take maybe 10 to 15 minutes of your time now and ask a couple questions about this program. And I know you've worked with us for several years, but I'd love to get kind of a new perspective. You are not going to get somebody saying, no, I don't want to tell you anything. So the more you do that, the more you make them feel important, and then you ensure that from top down, we actually appreciate the business. Now, that doesn't mean we have to have these over-the-top site visits for every single customer where you've got the GM and the chef and everybody out there as they come through a big line. That isn't necessary. But it is important that we think about each one differently and that we're prepared. We're going to talk about that. But then let's talk about the I activities. Okay, so if it's on our business cards, if it's on our signature line, if it's on LinkedIn, if it's on Facebook, if we're starting to get it out there much more than clearly we are doing, then as you do the site visit, you want to say, and what I'm going to do today is I'm also going to point out why our conference center or hotel or resort, because it's all different, mixed up in this room with the kind of multi-purpose venues, why we're actually different because of IACC. Now, people are going to ask, what is IACC? And because IACC did their new marketing and their rebranding, they're not saying International Association of Conference Centers anymore, they're just saying IACC. You have to be able to explain what it is. And it's about a prestigious affiliation with conference centers around the world that specialize in meetings. And we have to be certified, so we have to have a lot of things that are different at our hotel than you're going to find elsewhere. And I'm going to point some of those out during the site visit, and that's going to allow you to kind of make that connection. Because if you don't say it, and you don't talk about it every time. Now, the customer, again, people are like, well, nobody even asks about it, nobody cares about it. Well, that's because nobody even talks about it. Nobody talks about it. If you think about certain things, like is there anybody here, and help me out, anything that if you're going to go buy something, do you ever look at anything that says, I'm going to work with this person, or I'm going to get this plumber to come to my house, or I'm going to get buy a new car? Is there anything you look at to tell you, is this a good, reliable kind of service provider or not? Anybody, and any kind of business. Recommendations, number one. Personal, that's number one.
Is it part of a larger organization or an association?
Part of a larger organization or association. It's like I bring a plumber. My mom and dad live in Houston, and they're 83 years old, and I get like texts every 5 minutes. I mean, now the faucet doesn't work, and now your father can't fix that, and da-da-da. So then I'll call a plumber, and don't call like a honeydew plumber. Call somebody that like has a big company behind them. So when your 30-year-old house that doesn't need just a little thing, that's right, and so she did, and now she's so glad because it doesn't go from a little faucet; it's a huge, right? So if I look at J.D. Power for cars, right? Safety. You look at different things that have a seal of approval. This is approved by. You look at things like on Yelp, and I have a restaurant, and Open Table is important. We get rated on Open Table, and we're the top 100 in the U.S., and it's hard to stay in the top 100, especially when you're a small one restaurant, 140 seats. So people look at that, and they look at, I'm looking for a good steakhouse in Southern California, and we come up because we're very high, and that means we have kind of something to differentiate ourselves. So the way in which, and we're going to talk about closing the business at my next breakout after this, but converting this business. So earlier today, I talked about what you do with these inquiries. Then you actually get somebody to come in, okay? We have to be able to close more business on the spot if we can. Now, we also have to know where else they're looking. So yesterday I talked about selling against the competition. So the most important thing is on the phone, one of the biggest things you've got to ask is, in addition to us, where else are you looking? Now, there is going to be that random mean customer that's like, I'm not telling you. I don't feel comfortable telling you. I'm fine. I'm like, okay. I didn't ask their bank account. I just asked. It's okay. I'm not going to press them. I'm not going to go, well, I need to know. That's fine. But that's maybe 20%, 10% of the time. I don't even know. When people are hiring me for training or speaking, our sales team always says, can I ask who else you're looking at? And they tell us a lot of times we're looking at this organization, that organization, and then we'll say, well, can I share with you some of the differences between us and what we do and that organization? Because we know, again, not throwing mud, stating observable differences. So first and foremost, if you do not ask the right questions on the phone before they get there, you are doing a standard site visit like you were at the White House. Follow me, follow me, follow me. This is a waste of time. Now, if you get a walk-in, which some people do, because you're in, some people like, if you're in San Luis and you have weekenders that are there resorting, and then the CEO that's actually with his wife and kids says, I never even thought of this place for our, shareholders meeting. I should look at it, right? That could be like a walk. You're not going to say, well, I can't take you. We're gonna take care of this customer. Then, before I show them around, I am going to sit down with them and uncover their needs. If you get a calling, it's okay to quickly be Googling and ask questions. It's okay to say, I'm not familiar with that organization. Like, you're not supposed to be an encyclopedia. Like, I know everything about every company in the world and every association. Now, if I'm outwardly calling on you, proactive selling, I should have done my homework first, right? You you have to remember that these customers travel more than you travel, just because they do for business and all the things. They go to more meetings than you go to outside of your hotel. They go on more site visits than you go on. So they see good and bad. And they know the difference. So you have to get them excited. And we're going to give some best practices and share. Yes, you do have to, I talked about excellence this morning. Every minute counts. Every minute counts. This isn't like, oh, this is my 4th site visit. It's the same thing I say to people that handle weddings. I get another bride today. I'm gonna lose. I say, maybe we should take you off of weddings because you like our, just because you're not married and you're bad about that, don't blame it on that. Okay, because it shows. It absolutely shows. They come down to the lobby and the typical, and I see it all the time, because I'm in the lobby. I do a lot of just speeches. So I'm in the lobby waiting to do my speech, because we don't come in sometimes until, we're called in, and now I go on. And I love when I'm there about an hour earlier, and I love, and some of you see me do this, but I love when I see the salesperson walk up, because the front desk is called, and your client's here. And then they walk up, hello, hi, I'm Cindy. Good, I'm so glad to meet you, Rachel. So anyway, I'm going to show you around, and how was your drive in? It was good, yeah, that's what we asked. Here it's how's the weather? Great. Traffic on the 405 is moving along. All right, so anyway, follow me, and then we turn. And it's almost like a pirouette, a dance. We go through the lobby. And this is the lobby. Now we'll do your pre-registration here. And then what we'll do is over here, this is where any of your vendors can come in. Follow me, we're going to go to the 2nd floor now. So look at the meeting space. Okay, this is like, and I follow. Just so you know, because this is how crazy I am. And this is no lie. And you can ask people that know me and people that have been around me. I follow, and I stand there, and they don't even know me. I mean, I'm not even working at that hotel. Some of the hotels where I do the training, they're like, uh-oh, there's Cindy. Right? And I follow behind, and then they'll walk into the ballroom. The windows, these can go up and down, the view is magnificent. And then I will walk right up and say, so what? So what? And the client turns. The salesperson is like aghast. And they'll say, pardon me. I'll say, why don't you tell the customer why this is so important and a little bit about your offer? And you'll see them like, I'm sorry, I don't know you. I'll say, no, I'm just an angel of sight. And I'm not making this up. I can give you a lot of people that would get on the phone right now and go, yeah, she's done it. It's like flat out embarrassing. And I don't even care, because the customer then will laugh, because it's kind of like, tell me about this meeting space and how this meeting space is going to make a difference for me. That is how you're convincing this customer to go with me and to gain that commitment. Very important. So obviously, any good salespeople are collecting this relevant information prior to that site visit, always. Okay? And you have to, and those that go through our sales training, and some of you are in this room, you have to be able to peel back, and I call it like peeling back on the artichoke. The vegetable, the artichoke. Okay, not the onion, because I don't know what we're trying to get to. But at least on the artichoke, we're trying to get to the heart of the artichoke, right? The artichoke part. It's the most expensive, tasty. So you peel. So you do have to ask questions. I was going up to my room to check out, and one of the gals that was in my session said, oh, I just love that. She goes, it's so funny because this is what happens to me. She goes, I constantly say, well, tell me what you're looking for. And they'll say, well, it's something like, fried chicken and mashed potatoes. And then I'll send the menu with fried chicken. And they go, no, I didn't really want fried chicken. So really, when they said something like fried chicken, I would say, so what exactly, if you don't want fried chicken, are you looking for something comforting food? Are you looking for American food, Southern food? What exactly? And then you'll hear them say things that are totally opposite of anything next to fried chicken. We were thinking more like Italian pasta, but that's so much like fried chicken. But see, people are funny. What they say and what they mean are totally two different things. So you have to really get down to that heart, kind of where the pills don't reach, to connect with them to hit those hot buttons. Then you have to document everything done. I am a firm believer. So when I was on property as a director of marketing, I had a nice sign. I have now a new sign in my office that says if it's not in Delphi, it doesn't count. I can't have Post-it notes all over that can't have you running around. I can't have you leaving my hotel with all the stuff in your head, and we don't know it. I can't have you like had to take a medical leave, and now we're like running around crazy people. It's not done by the town. So in the earlier session I did this morning, I talked about when you get those inquiries, and you respond, and you ask the customer, you know, you can set up that phone appointment. Now you're going to do that phone appointment, and on that phone appointment, you're going to ask some good questions. You're going to find out what's causing them to look for a venue, what is important to them, what are things that are going to make them make the decision. In addition to you, who else are you going to involve? I am amazed when I ask salespeople, like, who's actually making the decision? Well, she is. Oh, but did you ask her? Well, she's the client. I go, is she representing her boss, a board, a committee? How do you not ask that? This is so vitally important. You know, what do you hope to achieve as a result of this meeting? You know, if it's a sales meeting, and I've heard salespeople say this, you know, they ask the VP of sales, so tell me what's important for this meeting. And I've heard the VP of sales from, you know, Motorola say, well, we got to motivate our team. And then you'll hear the salesperson, oh, we are so motivational. This is so motivational because our hotel is located here. It's very, got a lot of energy. You're going to love it, on and on and on. And you're thinking, that's not what I meant. So instead of saying, well, what can we do as the venue to make this motivational? That's what we're trying to look for. So, you know, we call this the gap, trying to close the gap. So it's like peeling back that artichoke. So as you begin to look at the site visit, some of you may be doing this already so well. So I always believe that we should look at best practices. So I'll turn it over and we'll get some discussion going on best practices.
Okay, so at your team tables, what we'd love for you to do is just take a few minutes, 4 or 5 minutes, to discuss these 3 topics. How can we be better prepared for our site visits? What aren't we doing? Where are we kind of falling short? What processes do we already have in place that are working, or maybe some things that need to be tweaked? And then how can you use your operations team more effectively? Okay? So just take a few minutes at your tables and then we'll regroup.
I'm Betty. I'm working at the conference center.
I just have like weeks ago. The rest of my planners were here.
No, you have to it's new. I think when I came here in 2007,
Oh, thank you.
I got the history behind opportunities yesterday.
I tried to do a lot of that.
Restaurant buffet.
They're great.
Thanks for that. And if we have like all the we've done one of these reservations.
Really
I'd actually love to hear from you. Yeah, I was just thinking, you're right. I might have some singing that's something that would be want.
Correct.
modify my outfit based on this. When I do this, and, no, I'm here writing, so I'm reading wait for that. Don't be fall. Yeah. Give me that, give me
But that's almost reversed. But how long the credits or my calendar. So bump it up. I have to stay locked in. I should be hanging around this waiting for I think everyone understands something. Write down what's the frame of the ball, what's the frame of
But that's rather you can't see. Yeah.
just keep talking.
Definitely reading on every site because I've done sites where I'm ready to hold on, and I don't care about X, Y, Z or X, Y, Z. So how to take that and read that. So that's what I'm talking about. Cover that underline. Whether they're personal or whether, what is going to make that successful.
Okay. So, let's talk as a group. I encourage you to take notes if you hear something from your peers that sounds interesting. So how can we be better prepared for our site visits? Yes, ma'am.
One big thing that we find is asking for the technology requirements prior to. I mean, even if we know the RFP process, because it's always going to be different than what we.
Right. Okay, good.
You know what? Everyone has the traditional forms they send out and everything, but you need to make sure you're double checking that, pre-shipping it, and touching the departments that are going to be directly involved in the site visit, just to make sure that they're aware of who's coming through, what's going on. That way, I feel like that works the best.
Good. Communication.
Valid
Not
front desk,
over-communicate.
everything.
Yeah.
Your sales staff can be ready for it, and then the valet has no idea who they are.
Also, waiting for them. Be there. You know what time they're arriving. Be there.
Yeah, and I have been on the hotel side, I've been on the convention bureau side, I've been on the client side, and there's nothing more frustrating than getting to the hotel and you're having to go to the bell desk and say, I have an appointment with so-and-so. Oh, does anybody know who that person is? You know, they're like confused, right?
But on the opposite side, when you roll in, the bellman knows your name.
Yes. Love it. LinkedIn. I know a lot of hotels are printing out the LinkedIn profile, so that they've got the customer's picture there. Good. How about back here? Would you all discuss?
Very similar to what they just talked about, making sure the communication between ops and sales are in line, that there is an actual site visit coming, and then just making sure that whatever you're going to show is ready to be shown. So,
Yeah.
Times, unfortunately,
Doors are unlocked.
you don't want to go in there right now.
Seriously. Trash from the night before. Really pretty, right? What else? Yes, sir.
Google.
Google.
I want to know who I'm meeting.
Yes. Do your homework.
What do they do? Are they pharmaceutical? Are they feeding rats? I mean, what?
Absolutely. You need to know who you're doing business with, don't you?
Yeah, you got to talk to them in a manner they're comfortable with, so you've done some research.
Good. How about back here?
We were just saying, I think pre-qualifying and asking those
everyone on the team in the site from different departments, and sometimes it's just like too many cooks in the kitchen, you know, and maybe you made a really good point, if, you know, they had an issue with AV or food and beverage is really important to them, maybe then we just make a point to do an intro to the chef, or meet with our, you know, the head of our AV team versus trying to pull that off every single site visit. It's a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah, and sometimes we overcomplicate.
Yes,
A
definitely.
lot. Yes. Okay, good. Anything else? Anything that was different? Yes.
Reading the energy of the customer while you're conducting the site. So what they're into, what they're not into. I don't want to get stuck in my elevators or my spiel, and when that's not what they're interested in.
Not being relevant. Okay, good. All right, so what processes do we have in place? Anybody have some great best practices to share about processes that are in place? No processes in place?
We have a form that we fill out, we send it to all the department heads, make sure that if there's certain people that need to be on the tour are listed on there, and then always, of course, calling them that money and reminding them.
Yeah, because it's inevitable, isn't it? And you're like, you sent all of this information. I used to have a general manager who you sent the information to him, and inevitably he'd come and he would say, so great, we look forward to hosting your meeting in June. And they're like, we're not coming here in June. Oh my gosh. You know, really doing those over communicating briefs with the relevant people.
We actually do it in an Outlook calendar invite instead of just an email. So it pops up on the calendar.
Now you just have to get them to read it.
Yeah.
Great. Yes, ma'am.
Of course, we have, we do the site form, we also have, you know, our little cheat tool that we take with us, and then we give you that gives the specs of the meeting room and everything. But what we try to do is to get one step further and make that emotional connection to the room for you. So we're not just talking about the square feet, we're telling you, you know, we're telling you about our owner and the crazy party he threw in here. We got 2,000 people in here, and we fed them, and they were all happy. People coming from
Stories. People like stories, don't they?
Yeah, or we talked about how it is, like he's really good at
You know,
that.
I have a go-to, I have talking points and things like that when I do it, and the salespeople make fun of me. They're like, all right, here you go, he's gonna bring that up. One thing we did, we hosted American Idol, and a lot of people think it's so cool that you had Stevie Tyler and J-Lo there. And if they're excited about
I'd be
it,
excited about that.
talk to them. You know, Stevie Tyler stripped out his underwear, laid out her pool. People love
course
those
he did.
stories, but not everyone loves those stories. If they don't like them, then it's not feeling it, I need to stop and let's go.
You have to know your audience. Yeah, absolutely. What else? Anything else? Any other best practices? No? Okay, we are going to.
All right, so we'll do
All right.
couple-
And then just real quickly, how are you using your operations team?
Sorry.
Can we,
Jump the gun
how
there.
can we, I know. Yes, ma'am.
One thing we do is whenever you come out to the site and you're doing a tasting, you know what, we have our pastry chef come out there, and, you know, he introduces himself to you, but he's a real interesting guy, and that's perfect, because his personality plays off well, because he brings out all these little treats, and he tells you the story behind him and how he came up with it, and they love it. So that's just one of the things that we do. We have a couple other things going.
Yeah, another thing, some of our operational people have more personality than others. So we try to incorporate the ones that we know what they're going to say. We're not scared about what they're going to say, but they're going to really excite the.
Yeah, you don't want to catch them off guard. Good. Anything else? Yes.
We incorporate our IT, our PSAD, and all of those people, but we also try to incorporate some line level employees that have long longevity and have interesting stories. We've got a gentleman who works in our restaurant who came to the United States, didn't speak a lick of English, and the customer loves, because we're great, but they're ultimately the people that are going to execute their vision. So that's profound.
I love
for
that.
that.
Good.
I think it's like a special discipline that meeting is for, like we had women chefs or something. So we had a female sous chef and made sure she was out there, or there was a Spanish poetry reading thing. So any of the people that spoke Spanish on our team, we brought them out to say hello and just turn into that, but whatever we have.
That's brilliant. And it's just little things like that that make a huge difference, right? Okay. Anyone else? All right, Cindy.
Okay, now I can.
Now you can talk.
Okay, so, and you can take pictures of these, but just so you know, all the speakers' PowerPoints are on the IAC website. So you'll be able to go to them. I think they're being downloaded. We sent them all in way in advance, so that, because some of this stuff you're gonna wanna, like, it's gonna be hard harder to see on some templates, but that's where they are. Okay, so they're not on the app, but they're on the website. Okay, so this is we gathered some, just some examples of some things. This is from the health group, and it shows exactly what they send out to their operations team. So as an example, if you don't have something like this, you want to put something in place so that people start to recognize it. It might be on blue paper, or it might be on something, and some of you already talked about that. But it's got the date of the site visit, information on the company, it's got the description, it's got all the kinds of information that you're going to want to see. And it says Linda's going to meet Sue in the lobby, she's coming to see the space. So it gives all these department heads a bit of an alert of what we're looking at. That way they can talk about the client and get to know them. To your point about line level staff, this is very important. So if somebody, their breaks are going to be intense, they're going to do some different things, we want to introduce them to some food and beverage and some of the people that are going to be taking care of their breaks. Then language, you brought up that didn't speak like a word of English type thing. I love greeting. If you have international customers coming and we've got somebody that speaks Swedish that's on our property, I love to have them do a greeting to that customer. Even though they speak English, the client, it's just fun. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways you can incorporate kind of this, international crowd that we have at the hotel property. So as a best practice, these are some of the examples that you can use. And if you don't have one in place, then you want to put that in place. So a couple of the, and most of you have already said this, but I just want to touch base. The most important thing, Stacy said, be prepared, be on time. If the client's meeting you at 10 a.m., at 9:45, you're in the lobby. Okay, you can be doing emails and checking things, you can sit in the chair. It's better that you're there and you're waiting. They may be running late. That's okay, you're there waiting. Now, if you find out they're going to be like an hour late, you can go back up. The logo. So how many of you do social engagements, weddings, things like that? Anybody? Okay. Anytime you are doing social engagement, brides, things like that, critical that we are using their colors. We are asking them questions like, do you have a Pinterest board? And 90% of them do. And they will say yes. They may have it as a private Pinterest board. So you'll say, can I have access to it? I'd love to look at your colors and get kind of a feel of your wedding. If purple hydrangeas are all about their wedding, when they come into the room that you're showing them and there is a setup and you've got purple hydrangeas and color schemes, it immediately, emotionally connects them. Like, it's amazing. When you do anything with their logo, if it's going to be that more chalkboardy kind of, wedding, and you've got, chalkboard and, welcome for the future Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so. But corporate is just as important because many times corporate has certain colors, they're rebranding, they want different things, and if they're in this room and their colors are looking like they're clashing with this because you didn't put anything up on the wall, then automatically we're trying to overcome this room. So instead, you want to have things projected. That's where you'll want to work with PSAB or whoever your AV company is. And they need to do this stuff for you. So if they go, well, that's going to cost, look, stop. You're our partner. You get all our business here. So this is how we have to jump through the hoop. I want their logo projected on that wall. I want it to seem like, let's say they're introducing their new division of Hong Kong. I want you to video map this room and make it look like the streets of Hong Kong. They've done stuff like this already, so it makes it a lot cooler. So a customer walks in here and you say, we'll have the dim sum over there, we'll do this, we'll have kind of the fish laid out, and all of a sudden they're like, I see it. I totally see it. Now, if you have social tables, or if you've talked to the social table guy out there, this is also where you have the iPad in front of you, and you're showing them the room and the setup on the spot. So you can say, there's a couple options we can do, and literally in front of their eyes on the iPad, you're making this come alive. This is important. Color schemes, all of that, so that the customer is seeing it. If they're coming for a site visit, and all we're doing is showing them around, I can tell you we are not going over the top. So we really want to make sure we push that up. We also like to have something for the customer to take notes. And they take pictures with their phone. But if you have a nice, and it costs very little money, depending on very little money to get a nice portfolio that's foil stamped at your local stationery store, or many hotels, some hotels have their own foil stamp with their name on it, and even custom, like, to do stationery today with someone's name on it is so cheap. This is not expensive. And so if it's worth it, and I give them that with information I've already printed out about how their meeting would look, you are 100 steps ahead of everybody else, because you really are taking that kind of personalization to the next level. Now, if somebody wants something really out of the box and fun, then we need to get the whole hotel together to work on this. So that means we may set up a room, kind of mock setup. We might have the music really going crazy. We might have the lights. They might come into this room, and we've actually got a bartender, if it's the last part of the site visit and it's toward cocktail hour, where we knew the person's favorite drink. You know, I did this just recently, where we knew that the guy was a huge gin and tonic customer. And so he came into the ballroom, the last bit of the site visit. It was about 5:30, and we were going to take him to dinner anyway. And instead of going to the bar and having a cocktail, we had a mixologist in there teaching how to make a proper gin and tonic. And it was unbelievable. They had the hibiscus, the whole thing. They're doing everything with the good tonic, with the good gin. And he stood there and was taking pictures like, I've been making these wrong the whole time. Yeah, and he got more about making the gin and tonic and then it was like, that was half our conversation when we sat down for dinner. So the more exciting you make it and the more you connect. Now that's not appropriate for every single client. I'm not going to do that if somebody's like, I don't even drink gin. Oh, well, we just wanted to teach you how to make one. So it's making sure we know the customer in advance. So this is called a presentation funnel. This is the same presentation funnel we use in some of the direct training for writing a letter, giving a speech, doing a site visit. So any good speakers that you hear get up and they grab your attention with an overview. Then they tell you what they're going to tell you. That's how you're supposed to do it, right? So today we're going to talk about A, B, and C. That is a review of the needs. Then they go into their heart and soul, which is the facts, the features, the adjectives, and benefits. And in the speech, it's all the things that I'm telling you about, telling my stories and giving my examples. Then there's always a summary. So I told you we're going to talk about A, B, and C, and we've hit on boom, 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 right? The same thing applies to a sentence. The opening is grabbing their attention. In the lobby, people know them by name. They pull up. You're right there. You've already looked at their pictures, so even if you haven't met them, you've met them, and you're right out there. Welcome, Cindy Devine, so glad you came. And it's like, wow, it's Rachel, isn't it? Rachel, I'm so glad you're here. That's impressive right off the bat. It's like, wow, these people are with it, okay? And then we start to escort them in. And if she's a bride, I'm going to do two different things. And some of you do social. If she's a bride, I'm going to say, we've got some special things for you, just what you're going to love, I can tell you. And I'm like, right, if it's a company, I'm going to say, I'm so excited, I looked at your agenda last year. You see, same thing though, grabbing the attention. Not like, hi, so glad to meet you, come with me. How was your drive? Like, I'm so over it. I'm so over when people know you're from California. Oh, I bet the weather's great. No, actually, it rained for the last 3 months. You know, it's just like, oh, wow. So the idea is if you really connect on something real, it makes a difference. Now you go and sit down and review the needs. Step 2, review the needs. So now we're going to sit down and we're going to review exactly. So what we're going to do, Rachel, is we're going to sit here and I'm going to review. First, we're going to look at the guest rooms. I know that was important. The suite for your president was going to be a big deal. We're going to look at that. I'm going to save the actual meeting rooms to the end because I'm going to have our chef meet with us because I know you want to do kind of a cook-off and a team building event. So we've got some fun things planned for you there. And then I'm also going to spend some time with audiovisual because I know that, you want to get real creative in, some of the setup. So you're telling them what you're doing. And by telling them what you're doing, you're making more sense so that as they're touring around, they're not seeing things that are like, why am I even looking at this? The worst thing you can do is give a standard site visit to everybody. And I've known Cheons to say, make sure you show them this. Well, they don't want to see that. Well, you have to show them it's new. I don't care. They don't want to see it. So if spa's not important, I'm not walking them all the way through the spa. If spa's important, I am going to go in, and if it's somebody who really loves spa, I'm going to make sure I've booked a treatment, and then we'll have dinner after that. I'm going to do whatever I've got to do to close that business based on their needs. So after I fab around the hotel, I come back and I sit down. So either I'm having my lunch or a coffee or a dinner, all meal, all drink goes after the site visit. Never before. So a lot of people do, they're coming in at noon, so we'll have lunch and then we'll do the site visit. No. Things happen during lunch, they get a tax emergency, they gotta go. I hate that. I'm like this. Is it really an emergency? I mean, because we haven't seen the hotel yet. I need to save. Free. Okay. So, no, I show them around, show them everything. Then we sit down and start our meal or our cup of coffee or iced tea or cocktail or whatever it's going to be, okay? Because this is when I'm going to try to close the deal. And that's going to be the essence of it. So I think you can see by things that we're talking about, it's all about personalization. There should never, ever be a standard site visit. So new people that have joined, what happens is we have a new salesperson. She joins. Be careful who you send her with. So if the only person available is like your marginal salesperson, so you're going to go ahead, Katie. Is it Katie? Yeah. You're going to go, Katie. You go ahead with Mary over here. I mean, she knows the hotel. She's been here a long time. And then there's Katie. So here we go. This is the illumination room. I don't even know why they did that. They always like us to show this. This doesn't really work all the time, the lights and everything, but you just show them anyway. And then if this person is training your new person. So the way in which you train to give a site visit is first, we're going to interview me. You're going to ask me what my needs are. And then I'm going to show you around the hotel based on those needs. And then we're going to do it a couple times till we get it, because it's got to be personalized every single time if we're going to close more business. So remember, without that probing process, asking these broad, open-ended questions, you never can sell to what the customer really wants. You end up constantly just saying the same story, showing the same stuff. Stories, as Stacey said, stories are the most important thing. Stories sell. People love it. When you say, oh, our customer had this, or Justin Timberlake, or yeah, and people are like, oh my God, that's so fun, right? That is so cool. I wish we had the budget for that. But they're seeing it. They're feeling it. Let me tell you what we did last year with a client similar to yours. Let's say they're worried about rain. You're going to do it. They want to do an outdoor event. They're like, yeah, but then I'm worried because it rains here, and then what's it going to be like when it comes in? You can say, look, I can show you some pictures. Last year, about this time of year, we did. I was working with, Deloitte, and it did rain, and we brought the event in. Here's some pictures on my iPad of what the event looked like in the ballroom. And now they're seeing how we really recreated that outdoor event. That's why the iPads have got to be loaded with the right pictures under the right albums, so that you're not just doing this. You know how you see salespeople? It's so embarrassing. They stand there like this. Hang on. Okay? No. You go to rain album. That means it's going to show stuff. You go to wedding album. That's it, right? You go to corporate with a lot of AV album. So I'm showing. Then you go to the name of the meeting room album. Instead of and it can't just be these marketing, boring pictures. And when you work for a company, like, you can't take a cute picture. It's got to have, it costs $40,000 to have new pictures taken. I'm like, rubbish. I go in with my iPhone, take a picture. I'm not putting it on our website. I'm showing it to clients. I cannot wait for another great event for you to have your photographer come in, and it can't happen. Because while you're waiting for a new marketing piece, I've already lost the gig, right? So you got to make sure that we are showing that and we're meeting the needs. The features sell nothing. The illumination room, it looks just like the Enlightenment room. I mean, I kind of felt like it was Disney for a minute because it's school. It's UCLA. I'm illuminating and I'm enlightening, right? But there's a story. If I worked here, I'd know the story. There's a story about that. And I would tell the story, and I'm overlooking like all that new sod being laid, and I go on to that and explain. I mean, there's a story, but a feature doesn't sell. Nobody is booking the Enlightenment. Oh, I'm so glad the Enlightenment. Right? They're booking what it does for them. So your adjectives, the way in which I sell this for a dinner, I describe it totally different than I sell and show it for a meeting. So I describe it, and I talk about how we'll have that up. You'll see the lights of the school behind. There'll be candles on all the tables. What we'll be able to do is we have the music already piped in. We'll be able to then, illuminate on that wall because we won't want to show, take away from the view. See what I'm doing? But the meeting is totally different the way I describe it. So to differentiate on these site visits, you have to make a difference. And part of it is don't show them the whole thing. I know people that are like, well, our site visits take me at least 2 hours. I'm in San Luis, there's a big resort, it could take you forever. And then if they decide to go, Galveston to look around, some of you are big, I don't need to show up. I worked for Disney at an 1,100 room property with 180,000 square feet of space. And literally, I never showed guests. They stayed in the suite, the only nice suite we had at that time was a big old hotel. And this is the meeting space. And I'm not kidding. And then I'd say, what's your favorite ride? Oh yeah, Space Mountain, not fun. Then I would take the monorail, because let's face it, they're not coming to Anaheim, California for the culture, okay? So we take the monorail right over. I, of course, have a fast track. I get right in line first. Club 33, the only place in Anaheim, at Disney where you could drink, right? Alcohol. We keep away from little kiddies. Now you can drink everywhere. See what's happening in our world? The mouse house has alcohol. Okay, so anyway, I would go through this whole process. They are having the time of their life. I was the top producer in that hotel, and I had a director of marketing that looked me in the face and said, "You are not taking enough time on your site visits." And I looked at him and said, "You know what? You're so funny." Yeah, you're so funny. I'm the top producer of this hotel. All they care about is the meeting space. They're already staying in a suite. They got some sort of idea what the rooms look like. Going and showing and I hate the word category. I'm going to show you this category. That's hotel talk. They don't care about the categories. I'm going to show you the rooms, but you're already in a suite, and you'll get an idea. That, I can show you a regular king or queen, but a room's a room. I knew salespeople that went on every floor with 1 second, and I'll show you what it's like in the fourth. It's the same as it on the second. It's just like you're looking more over the roof than at the roof. Right? It's ridiculous. So you want to make sure that you're focusing on those things throughout the entire site visit. You're not wasting any time. So this is from Cheyenne Mountain. So we're trying to use a couple examples from within your own community of things that you can use. So one of the things you want to do is make sure on your websites, on your packets that you give them email, generally giving them info like printed, you are laying out these details. These are the features. The feature would be the package, but the description of it is below. Everybody got that? The feature is the business center, but the description is everything below. So now I'm only going to cut and paste this for what my customer needs. So I'm not like everything, but if a customer is looking for creative food and beverage, I'm going to put the creative food and beverage bold just like that, and underneath it, I'm going to talk about our chef and our iron skillet and all the different things we do and awards, all that, right? The different things that we can do. So the feature of what I'm selling and a little bit of a description, so they have some takeaways. Now, PowerPoints, all of these are great. You can actually, send them right to the client so they have it when they're walking around. You can give them an iPad with this on it, not give them the iPad, but borrow the iPad, and show them around, and they're looking at these different things. So you're talking about exactly what we're doing. There's the food and beverage, explaining the flexibility in dining venues, the continuous breaks. People don't sometimes get that. You have to paint the picture. And if you were in my session yesterday, the best way to paint that picture for me is at 9:30 and 2:30 in every hotel in the world. And I'm talking, last week I was in Beirut, Paris, and London, and it's the same time. Okay? 9:30, 2:30. Used to be that we always did things a little later in Europe. Now they've just gotten over it, and everybody's like eating. Everyone's starting at noon. 9:30, 2:30. At 9:45, the break's over, and there's banquets to take away the break. And you'll see people, oh wait, I didn't get my coffee, right? So I give that example, and that is it. They're like, oh, that is no kidding. I would not hear. You get to get back up, we'll get some bread and vine licorice, have some gummy bears, right? Cannabis, because you're in California. Excellent. And so explaining the food there, or Colorado, exactly. The guest rooms, you want it, guest rooms are guest rooms. But then when you start to say things like, ours are separated from the meeting space. So in some places they're not. They're spread all together and you're wandering around. It's noisy. Some of the meeting rooms are over by the main space so you can hear the music, all of that. So whatever your description is, this is how you're actually selling it. But you're pointing it out. So your proposal is the same thing. So in your written documentation that you have them, you've got, I'm so glad, personalize that opening that we had the time to talk. Based on everything that was important to you, I have listed the guest rooms, the technology, the meeting space, so I just bullet it so they see it, and then in the body goes guest rooms, and then I cut and paste this. Food and beverage, cut and paste this. Technology, right? Whatever is important at that time. This was a huge deal about 5 years ago, and I'm not saying don't tell the waste people. This, I haven't had a customer lately ask me about sustainability. Like, we're doing all this stuff for all these programs and giving back all this stuff. I mean, I love the guy that donated the $100 million to build this. That's good, right? He made all this money recycling bread. Like, what's wrong with me? I mean, I constantly throw away bread. Yeah, he's a billionaire now by recycling bread. I mean, it's so funny. And so, sustainability is important when it's important. So when a client asks about, our clean waste and what we do and energy savers, I'm putting it in. But it's not going in every time. Because if they don't care about it, I'm just wasting space to talk about it. Unless they bring up, well, what is your policy and what's your sustainability and corporate social responsibility, I gotta know my stuff. But it's not like I'm plug and playing every single bit of this. Meeting space, I'm highlighting the whys and the wherefores. This is the message behind. And again, I can't do that if I haven't asked you questions. What is really vital to you? What is important to you? What's going to make the difference? Let's secure overnight storage. As we know, in many, many of the hotels, this room is being flipped for a dinner of another company. Right? Now, in some cases, you don't have to raise your hand because I know we do it as well. Because if we can make more money tonight and get a dinner, but we act like we don't do that. That means we let you keep everything up on the wall. Then we take it all down. We're like the little elves in the night. Then we put it all back up in the morning, right? I mean, we tell them we're going to do this, so in case they come down at 9 p.m. and there's a party going on, they know their stuff's secure. But if that's important, like a lot of the financial companies, they don't want to be doing their annual review and knowing there's another competitor or pharmaceutical things like that. So you've got to collaborate with your team, and that's what we talked about. Getting people, whether it's line employees, whether it's the chef, general managers, the worst thing we can do, and it's not because general managers can't think on their feet, they can, but there's a lot going on here. So if I just, last minute, hey, do you have a second? I got my client over there. And it's like embarrassing. Okay, first of all, who's the client? What is it? It's flat out wrong. Same thing with the chef. It might be a last minute thing that now I think it might be important. Well, then I sit them down, give them a cup of coffee. I go get the GM and say, I really need you because they're pushing back on something. And I tell them exactly what's going on. But in advance, the more we get our team to understand, this is where I'm going to need you, Rick, okay? I'm going to need you to help me with this. Engineers, chief engineers. Because if they've been in a hotel where there was a total blackout, right? Like I was in New York, probably 10 years ago, when the whole city went black, right? And believe me, the chief engineer was like the savior of the day, because all of a sudden, candles being lit, things are, we got glow lights, it was kind of like the Titanic. Everybody's still drinking champagne and there's no lights, but everyone's like, oh, it's great. Okay, but the point is that if you've been through that, you might want to say, I'd like to talk about that. Safety. We cannot ensure anybody's safety anymore, anywhere. But some people are nervous about that. They're nervous about what's going on in the world. So your head of security, I'm not bringing my head of security out for every single site visit, and I'm not putting it out there. But if they say, look, this is an international group, we're a little concerned because, things have been going on, wherever it might be. So we just want to know kind of what your protocol is. I'm going to have the head of security. I'm going to talk about them. They're the feature, and I'm going to describe where they've been trained.
And that also helps, like you were saying before, about asking questions about how event is going to be.
Exactly.
Is it going to be a event that might have some sort of social implications that there might be protesters outside?
Yeah.
That you need to
Right.
You need to ask that question because sometimes the client will tell you what meetings are.
Yeah.
We're having a meeting.
Exactly. And then we don't even know that it's like sensitive.
Right.
Because people protest these days about like everything. It's like, why do you have blue? Blue is not the color. That is so not good. That's not diversity. Why blue? And then they're out there protesting. You're like, does that always happen? Yeah, because it's the blue. And you're like, wow, I wish I would have known that. So very good point on that. So I think the key, as I pull this together, is any inspiration you can do. It's not motivation. It's inspiration. It's, you see I have music playing when you come into my meeting rooms. I hate dull meeting rooms. So even background music, not elevator music, like some energy, okay? Just even if it's jazz, so it's not like, Megan Trainor playing, Message to My Future Husband, you know what I'm saying? And so the idea is anything like that, putting them in vintage cars, bicycling around the property. This kind of stuff is so fun. Now, not everybody's going to enjoy bicycling, so it will be something you'd ask in advance. because we're kind of spread out, would you like to actually see what some of the team building things we can do? We can actually bicycle around and stop and we'll have lunch at the golf club. Now, some people will be like, I love that. And others will be like, I don't know. I'll just ride, okay? Any floor plans, any logos, all these things that we see. A handwritten note, the goodbye, if they drove their car, when they get in their car, if you knew in advance they love Madeline's or they love, coconut something, and in the car you've got, that special little bag of whatever they liked in the car with a bottle of water saying, just something to remember us on your drive home. These things make lasting impressions. I go as far as, because I'm a barracuda when I'm competing, and so on property, and I do a lot of on-property work, I always ask, where else are you looking? If we pick them up from the airport and they're staying with me, I try to own them, all right? I don't say this to them, that I'm going to own you. I say, here's what I'd love to do. I'd love to offer that. We'll pick you up, we'll have you at the hotel, then our hotel car will take you to the other property. I never have been turned down, and yet when that sales manager sees our SUV pull up, they get the more agita of their stuff. Now, I'm not with them, of course. I don't say, hi, we're here. My driver takes them, pulls them up in front, and they get out, and then the driver says, I'll be waiting, you can text me. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, sometimes it's quicker than others, and then I'm bringing them back to me. It takes all the hassle, because some hotels don't offer some of this stuff, and I want to be it for you, right? So think about all these things that you can do. I've already talked about mixologists. I've talked about little passport, things like we're doing here. Staff greeting, banquets showing how to fold napkins. So just like making the gin and tonic, the banquets when they're folding the napkins, teaching people love this because they like entertain at home and they love to do that. But along the way, there will be some objections. And if there are objections, if there's pushback, like, I don't like this room, the worst thing you can do is say, well, let me go show you the, illumination or the inspiration room. Well, it looks just like this. So I need to listen, show a bit of empathy. Empathy is not apology. Just say, hey, glad you shared it with me. What don't you like about this room? Dig it out. Don't let this stuff go away. Dig it out so that you then can produce a solid solution. So I will close it up with this. I will tell you during the site visit, if halfway through the site visit, they are saying things like, I love it, I love this, then let's go to lunch early. Right? Not, oh, wait, I haven't shown you the 10 other things, okay? Like, they love it. Do you want to go to lunch now? We'll just start working on the details. I'm seeing salespeople sell themselves out of the deal because they keep going and going, and the customer was ready to sign, and they're like, oh yeah, but I needed to show you one more thing. And then one more thing is, oh, is that the pool? Why do we go there? So when they're ready, ask for the business. Get on with it. Don't waste your time saying, well, I've still got 20 more minutes left of the site visit. They're ready. And that's how you close more business. Any Q&A? Any questions? Anything I can answer for you? Did you learn anything here? Good ideas? Get your ideas going?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes? No? Thumbs up? Yes. Write down in your book your little points you're taking away. You already write it down. You're all set. All right. Thank you. You now have a break, I believe, for about 20 minutes, right? All right. Thank you very much. And we'll see you if you're coming back in the next time.